Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Gamecock Central Radio. Emerson Phillips with Gamecock great Joe Rhett here to talk Gamecock men's basketball in South Carolina, picking up a win over Texas A&M at the Colonial Life Arena on Saturday. The Gamecocks are now 12-3 overall and 2-0 in SEC play. Gamecocks one of just 4 unbeaten teams in SEC play here early in 2017. So, Joe, the Gamecocks beat Texas A&M, which won the SEC regular season championship last year. Certainly didn't come easy for South Carolina on Saturday. In fact, A&M shot the ball extremely well from 3, and they gave the Gamecocks all they could handle, but a late South Carolina run put the game away.
No doubt. Welcome back, Sindarius Stonewell. You can see where he's been missing. He does so many little things for this team. Rebounding defensively, and just his presence on the court means so much. And on Saturday, you saw that with him and P.J. Dozier struggling somewhat in the first half, you saw a signing of Dwayne Notice. Thank God for him stepping up on Saturday night. Also, Rakeem Felder stepped up and gave the Gamecocks a nice boost off the bench, and also another 19 points. So that's what you want to see, Emerson. You want to see, you know, when your two horses are down, hopefully they're not down a lot, but when your horses are down like that somebody steps up and fills in the void. And those two guys definitely did that. And as we went down towards the end, you saw that Sindarius didn't shoot a lot of jump shots in the second half, but he pounded the glass. He got some offensive rebounds, got some easy baskets. And also P.J. Dozier hit a big timely three in the second half to stretch the lead out for the Gamecocks. So huge win for the Gamecocks to go, like you say, going up 2-0 in the conference play. I truly believe that this team will be undefeated. You know, unfortunately, Sindarius had some issues and he had to sit for a few games, but I truly believe that this is a special team, like I said before. And I think this team would have been undefeated, but we're going to move past that and get in this conference to the SEC and try to run the table.
79-68, South Carolina over Texas A&M Saturday at the CLA. This was a tight ball game. Both teams didn't shoot it particularly well in the first half. A&M banked in a 3 at the horn to end the first half to take the lead into the locker room. And it was a 1-point Texas A&M lead with about 7 minutes left in the ball game, and South Carolina closed the game on a 21-9 run, 79-68. The Gamecocks improved to 2-0 in SEC play. South Carolina got 19 points from Dwayne Notice, who hit 4 threes, and Rakeem Felder, the freshman, came in off the bench and scored 19 points. He was 6 of 8 from the floor and 3 of 3 from the land of 3. Thornwell stuffed the stat sheet, 16 points, 7 boards, 5 steals, 2 assists, and just 1 turnover in 35 minutes of action. And it was Chris Silva, the sophomore forward, with 15 points and 6 rebounds for the Gamecocks. So Texas A&M turned it over 25 times in this ball game. South Carolina had just 6 turnovers in the contest, and the Gamecocks improved to 9-0 with Sindarius Thornwell in the lineup. South Carolina 12-3 overall, 2-0 in the league. A&M now 8-6 overall, and 0-3 in the conference. And Joe, I thought it was important for South Carolina to hold serve in this game and pick up this win at home. We knew it was an important game for A&M. They were 0-2 in the league coming in. They didn't want to fall to 0-3. A&M shot 11 of 19 from 3 in the ball game, Joe, and that's of note because the Gamecocks were first in the nation in defending the 3 coming in. South Carolina opponents shooting just 26% from three-point land, and A&M did its best to try to change that on Saturday.
Well, Hogue was a guy that got kind of missing a lot in transition. He's a difficult guard to guard because he's like 6'7", 6'8", and can shoot the lights out of it. And he was the one guy that really kept the Texas A&M team in this ball game. Besides that, with the 25 turnovers that the USC Gamecocks created, caused them they put so much pressure on taking initial reads, taking initial plays from their opposing teams. And I think right now, Emerson, I think they're in the top 9 in scoring defense in the nation, not just the SEC, but top scoring defense in the nation. And it all starts with ball pressure. And it all starts up front because you have some bigs in the SEC East, and the Davis kid, who's a really, really good kid, a really good player for Texas A&M, made it difficult for him to get easy passes to the low post. And the Gamecocks took a lot of that away from them, from getting the ball inside, because initially we're so young. Silver's young, Coatstar's young. And by all that ball pressure, they made it very difficult for them to get some interior baskets. So I tell you, the defense is very hard. They make it very difficult for so many different teams that they play so far. And hopefully that's what keeps them in the game. Even when they're shooting bad, when the percentages are low, that defense will always keep them in ball games.
Joe, talk about the play of Raheem Felder and Dwayne Notice, 19 points apiece in this Gamecock win over Texas A&M. P.J. Dozier, you mentioned, didn't have his best game of the season by far, and Thornwell didn't shoot it particularly well either, but Thornwell's presence clearly opens things up for Notice and Felder. They combined for 38.
Well, I think the color commentator, Clark, did the game on Saturday. He made a big point. When you're struggling and shots not falling for you, sometimes just getting that first layup. Just sometimes you need to get to the basket, get a layup just to give you that confidence. That's what happened that game. Notice got an early basket that was inside, and just that confidence came back out. And they gave him opportunities in the right spot to shoot his three that he normally shoot, but he shot it with more confidence because of just the confidence that he exuded from making that layup. Then you got Felder, a guy from New York. That's one of the Frank loved those tough guys from the city of New York, and I saw him several times this year with the confidence that he displayed. He took some wild shots. I thought prior to this game, I was like, this guy has a lot of confidence. He has that ability to make some of those jump shots, and on Saturday, a lot of those shots fell for him. He made some big shots also from the three, and also made some twos that helped propel this Gamecocks over the Texas A&M Aggies.
Felder's a quality shooter, Joe. 3 for 3 from three-point distance on Saturday, and this is a young player that has brought three-point shooting to Frank Martin's ball club. He is a sharpshooter from three, and we've got to believe that his role will continue to grow as the season goes on. This is good for the Gamecocks. Three-point shooting presence.
No doubt. We need that some guys off the bench, like you say, when some of those guys are not rolling, PJ or Sanders not shooting well. After this game, I saw the confidence that Frank, had in this guy throughout the season so far. And turn of the new year, Emerson, he's no longer a freshman. We expect this guy, he's been in the battle so far. He's getting experience, and hopefully he can be a key component coming off this bench for the Gamecocks.
All right, Raheem Felder played high school ball at Indian Land in South Carolina, moved to Brooklyn, and he's now returned to the Palmetto State to play for Frank Martin and the Gamecocks. And South Carolina's 12-3 and one of 4 unbeaten teams in the SEC at 2-0 in league play. So this is Gamecock Central Radio. Emerson Phillips with Gamecock great Joe Rhett. We invite you to download the Gamecock Central Radio app. We got a free phone app that's available on the App Store and on Google Play. It allows you to listen to our podcast anywhere you receive cell phone service. You can listen for free on your phone. To subscribe to the podcast, search for Gamecock Central Radio on iTunes, SoundCloud, and other popular services, or just visit radio.GamecockCentral.com. Joe, a critical couple of weeks coming up for Gamecock men's basketball. Wednesday night, the Gamecocks travel to Knoxville to take on the Tennessee Volunteers, and Tennessee struggling a little bit right now at 8-7 overall, and they're 1-2 in the league, but they did open SEC play a couple of weeks ago with a victory at Texas A&M, but they've dropped their last 2 to Arkansas and Florida. So Tennessee trying to get back to 500 in conference play, and they'd like to take care of business at home on Wednesday night.
Yeah, and they're coached by a guy that in these parts we're familiar with, Rick Barnes, former Clemson, former Texas coach, and he's that program now. He's definitely, I think, he's always turned programs around, and I know that given him time, he will turn this Tennessee team around. But Tennessee has some good players. They're very, very well balanced. I think they got like 4 guys that are averaging over 10 points so far this year. They got led by a senior named Robert Haas III. He's averaging like 14.7 points, about 4.7 rebounds. He's a guard that can do numerous things on the court and can be very, very difficult for the Gamecocks on Wednesday night.
Tough road game for the Gamecocks. Gamecocks at the Volunteers, 6:30 tip Wednesday night. That game will be on the SEC Network. Tennessee has gotten the better of the Gamecocks in recent years, but South Carolina with an improved ball club here in 2016-17. Then on Saturday, Joe, the Gamecocks will host Ole Miss. Mississippi's 10-5 overall. They're 1-2 in the league. They had a very difficult schedule to open SEC play, losing to Kentucky and Florida, but they bounced back this weekend and beat Auburn. It was Mississippi's 9th straight win over Auburn, and this is Ole Miss team that's been to the tournament in recent years, and they're a pretty good ball club.
Yeah, a very good ball club, and Frank will be playing against one of his best friends, Andy Kennedy at Ole Miss. They go back to Kansas State days, Cincinnati days, coaching together. They're very, very good friends, and they always have great battles. I remember my son was there a couple of years ago, how tough those games were. But right now they're led by a guy, a junior transfer from Miami, DeAndre Burnett, He's averaging about 19 points. And, you know, if you ever keep up with Ole Miss basketball, he always has transfer guys that come in. And A.K. Andy Kennedy is a guy that lets those guards go. He runs tremendous plays. He runs tremendous ball screens for most of those guards to get off. And he always has, every year, he has guards that average 19, 20 points. But not only the Burnett kid, but you got a guy that's been there for 4 years, Sebastian Saez. He's averaging about 15 points, about 12 rebounds. One of the top rebounders in the country. I had the privilege of watching him play early on, about his sophomore year when my son was there. And he's a really good player. Maybe playing the NBA one day, Sebastian Saez. So they might have hands full on this week. You got teams that have lost a couple of games so far this year, who don't want to go down 1-3. So the Gamecocks definitely have their hands full this week.
All right, Joe, we will preview the week to come for Gamecock basketball here on Gamecock Central Radio. It's not often that we will look a week ahead, but next week, huge week for Gamecock basketball. Wednesday night at home next week against the Florida Gators, currently ranked 24th in the country. And then Saturday at Kentucky next week. Kentucky and Florida, 2 of the 4 unbeatens in the SEC. And next week will be a measuring stick week for South Carolina basketball.
First and foremost, we did handle our business this week. And, of course, you know, when you look at the schedule, you always want to see when do you play Florida, when do you play Kentucky. And that'll be coming up next week. So, like you say, Florida's now ranked 24th in the country. We all know about how well Kentucky is. Fortunately, I don't think we played them but once. We don't play Kentucky but once this year due to scheduling. So it's a very, very tough week. So we need to handle our business first this week. And on next week, we need to handle this very, very 2 of the top teams in the SEC perennially. So if we can, you know, continue to play well, I think we'll have a chance to win all 4 games this week.
Yeah, certainly players and coaches cannot afford to look ahead, but we will to give our listeners a look at what's on the horizon for Gamecock basketball. So, Joe, Thornwell's back in the lineup right now, and things feel good for Gamecock men's basketball. Great to be off to a 2-0 start in league play, and South Carolina, you know, really in control of its own destiny. It's been a long drought for the Gamecock men's team. South Carolina has not made the NCAA tournament since 2004. Gamecock men's basketball has not won an NCAA tournament game since 1973. So, you know, this team could have the talent and the chemistry to make the tournament come March.
They do. You know, I know they're very upset in the back of their mind. They were about last year. They knew that they felt that they had the resume to get in the NCAA last year, but you have to put that behind it and build on what you have this year. I really believe that this is a special team this year with the leadership, this team, you know, laid backcourt with Novus and Senderis. They want to taste that. They want to be one of those teams in Gamecock history to go to the NCAA, and I think they have the chemistry. They definitely have the coaching. I'll tell you, Frank Martin has those guys and put them in the best position game by game. He put those guys in the best position to win almost every game, and if they follow and execute his game plan, they will always have a chance to win because of their defense and their coaching.
All right, Frank Martin has said repeatedly that he really likes his Gamecock basketball team. And, again, going into the Texas A&M game Saturday, South Carolina was number 1 in the nation defending the 3 and number 2 in the nation in opponents' field goal percentage. And Joe mentioned that South Carolina was top 10 in the country in opponents' scoring. So the Gamecocks are winning with defense right now, Joe. And, you know, we're starting to see what this team is going to look like for the remainder of the year. Thornwell, obviously the leader. P.J. Dozier, one of the most improved players in the country. And we're starting to see some scoring punch from Raheem Felder. Dwayne Notice is streaky, but when he gets going, the Gamecocks are very potent offensively as well. So a lot of weapons for South Carolina and a lot of promise for the remainder of the year.
Yes, they are. We've seen the maturity of some of the guys, the young guys. They got some early playing time this year, especially the big guys, because we're so young on the interior. But due to some various suspension, I think some of the guards grew up. Like I say, Raheem Felder, the Grabber kid, he's getting a lot of quality time out there as well. So with this, with this team, I think it's, like I say, very, very special. And I'm very excited about things to come. Several times you just never knew what was going to happen with this basketball team, but each game, I feel that we always have a chance to win, and that's huge. And I think Frank Martin feels the same way because, we have, I think, one of the best backcourts in not only just the SEC, but in the country. And when, like you say, when Dwayne Notice gets going, we're a very hard team to beat. So I look forward to some great wins down the road.
All right, the Gamecocks are hungry. Obviously, getting left out of the NCAA tournament last year kind of left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. So South Carolina playing with a bit of a chip on his shoulder this year. 2-0 in SEC play for the Gamecock men. 12-3 overall record as we record here on this Monday. Joe, on a personal note, I know it's been a very difficult week for you and your family, and we'd like to thank you for joining us, taking time out of what's been a difficult time for you to join us here on Gamecock Central Radio. Thanks very much.
Hey, no problem, man. I didn't get a chance to tell you, but I appreciate your kind words, and I want to say happy. I hope it's not too late to say it, but Happy New Year to you as well.
Hey, same to you, Joe. We appreciate it, man. Thanks.
All right, no problem.
All right, that's Joe Rhett, Gamecock Great, and I'm Emerson Phillips, and we'll be back to talk Gamecock basketball with you here on Gamecock Central Radio. South Carolina at Tennessee Wednesday at 6:30, and then the Gamecocks will host Ole Miss on Saturday. Thanks for being with us.